Howdy there, people of the internet. It's me again. Well, today I wanted to talk to you about a couple of different things here on today's episode of the Taco Podcast. First off, as you can see, my host is not with me today because of scheduling conflicts. Life just got in the way, so it's just me. So this is what we originally wanted to bring forward. She had some ideas and things that she wanted to bring up, and I have some of my own. So we're just going to cover mine, and we'll wait until another episode to cover hers. I want to play a little bit of an experiment with you, especially after reading the comments after the last couple of videos that we put out here on the Taco Podcast. I want you to play this role for a minute. You can't verbally communicate with anyone. Maybe you can think of it as from the perspective of someone, an adult, a loved one, a husband, wife, or whatever you're with, your significant other. Imagine them as a stroke victim. They've had a stroke. They cannot speak. All right. How do you communicate with that individual that cannot verbally speak? So to give you some context to it, why we're even, I want you to mentally think about it in this, point, is a lot of people have commented in the comment section here on YouTube and on Facebook, where I also upload these, Taco Podcast episodes. They don't understand why, when I say that our son is, he mentally, physically, he is, he is perfect in every way. He is normal in that capacity, but he is speech delayed. They don't understand what speech delayed is. So again, think of an adult in your life who had a stroke. They're unable to verbally communicate with you that what they need. I need an aspirin. I need to use the bathroom. I'm hungry. Whatever it is, I need a glass of water. Think of them not being able to verbally communicate that with you. Their needs, their desires, their pain, their suffering, nothing. They can't verbally communicate that with you. How would you go about communicating with that adult in your life? Now, with that thought in your head, think about it when it comes to my son, when I say, and my wife says that he is verbally, communication-wise delayed. He has approximately maybe 20 words that he uses and his total vocabulary that is not made up. Now, that's important. I'll get that in a second. But he has about 20 words total that he says consistently, clearly, and you're able to understand, and they may be everything from instead of saying I'd like a glass of water, or I need a glass of water, or I've hurt my foot, I have a cut on my finger, whatever it might be. He has 20 words that fill in his entire vocabulary of words that he is able to use on a daily basis. Now, there are other words that he uses that are inappropriate, or maybe they don't fit what he's actually trying to communicate to you. So, instance, whenever he is thirsty, wants a glass of water or a glass of apple juice or something along those lines, he expresses his need for, something to drink with non-verbal or verbal cues that are inappropriate. Like he'll point to an empty glass and say, "Fill." Fill it with what? Do you want water? You pour water in, and he's like, "No!" He knows that word, "no," very well, and he'll express that. No, he doesn't want apple juice. He doesn't want water. What does he want? Maybe it's a glass of milk. But he doesn't have the appropriate word. And so in the moment he says no, I mean, all bets are off. It's like, well, no, okay, well, I guess you're not getting anything. You can look at it from that perspective, but he doesn't have the ability to properly cue the word with, water or milk or but he knows what he wants or knows what he needs, but he doesn't use the correct word there. So you got the 20 words he uses correctly in this right situation to express what he needs or wants in life, all right, and what's going on with him. That he's got the words that he inappropriately puts in, like an apple. For the longest time, he called an apple, I think it was like toothpick or something like that. He called it, the word was inappropriate for what he was actually wanted. He kept on asking for a toothpick, but he doesn't want a toothpick. He wanted an apple, or he wanted apple slices. But he'd say toothpick. Doesn't want a cheeseburger. He wants chicken nuggets, but instead of saying the word chicken nugget, he would say box. But it's inappropriate. The word doesn't match what he actually wants. So there's the 20 words, there's the inappropriate words, and then there is the made-up words. He will say a complete sentence to you, and all of it is, to somebody who's never heard it before, it's googly mook. It's the best way I can put it, is googly mook. It's his own words. And those are words that he's expressing to you. They're not real words. They're not even close to real words. Some of it is sounds, grunts, moans, and some of it is just complete nonsense. It's not like pig Latin or something like that, or, but it's complete words that he's made up in his mind to fit that, that object or express that emotion to us. When he falls and skins his knee, he's got a completely different word from, instead of owie or cut or, in a Band-Aid, he has a complete different word that is a series of, I don't know how to express it. It's like, like woolah, like woolah. You're like, what the hell's a woolah? You don't know what it is unless you're used to hearing it over and over again. So now you have that thing in your mind. Your loved one has had a stroke. They're unable to communicate with you verbally. They can't write it out for you and spell it out for you either. How do you communicate with them? How do you communicate with that loved one who, inside of their mind, if you can unlock that, that train of thought, and express out to what they want, you could help them. You could get them what they want. That's what being speech delayed is like for our son. He knows what he wants. He knows how to express it, but it just doesn't come out right all the time. He doesn't have the words that he needs, and we're working with him on it. We have, he goes to school, he has a speech therapist there, and we have a speech therapist that works with him after school as well, that we privately pay for. We're trying to get him to his verbal communication skills, expressed. But a lot of people judge him, unfortunately, harshly, because he doesn't have the skills. They think that there's something else wrong with him. And unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, it's a lot of parents out there of other kids. They're like, oh, what's wrong with your son? Oh, my God, there's something wrong with that kid. The Karens of the world are the worst. The ones who, and when I say Karens, that's just a general term for, the people who act like, the Karen meme. But they judge him inappropriately, and they judge him harshly because he's not normal like the other kids, or maybe their son, their daughter. But he's a great kid, and he wants to communicate with the world, and he knows, and that's the worst part, is he knows that he's unable to communicate like other kids, and that he doesn't have that ability, and he's getting better. I mean, it's taking some time. I mean, he's 6 years old now, and where, a child who is 6 may have, 50, 60 words of a vocabulary and being able to properly express their emotions in a correct way. Maybe someone in your life, again, has had a stroke, or something else has happened to them. Maybe they are a head trauma survivor, and they're trying to, communicate with the world, in some way, but they can't. because we haven't, built up that, that structure around them where they can communicate. We haven't found that way to be able to get them to be able to express what they need. So I hope that helps everyone understand when we say that our son is speech delayed. Think of it like a stroke victim. Someone who's had a stroke who's unable to communicate, but you know that person is there. We know our son is there. He's very smart. He tests above the skill level in communication, reading, writing, and comprehension. He understands it all. He just cannot speak it. And he, mathematics and everything else, he's above in his grade in all of those areas, again, but he can't speak it. What would you do? Would you throw the loved one away because they're unable to communicate? Would you just say, let's wait for time to, to pass and they're going to get their abilities back? Not all stroke victims are ever able to, speak again or have the cognitive ability to be able to express what, they need and what they desire in life. Even though it's in here, they just can't get it to come out here. My son has got it all here. He just can't get it to come out here. That's speech delayed. In a world where everything is expressed verbally and everything that you need, desire, everything try to live through life without speaking. Take your entire day. Go grocery shopping. Go do anything, but don't speak a word. Try it for a day. See how much interaction in the world you can get through without having to express anything, through a verbal command or without having to say anything. Someone says hello to you. Good day. How are you doing today? How are you going to answer them without verbally communicating it? Are you going to hold up a flashcard with the word on it that you need? Or are you going to hold up something that says, I've had a stroke, I cannot communicate with you? Now imagine a child just starting off their life and learning the world around them. That is where my son is. He's getting better. Again, like I said, we are doing everything we can to help him. He may not be, normal, or whatever the hell normal is, in his life. I mean, he's going to have autism forever, but he may not be able to go through life and have the, even as an adult, he may never be there to the point where he has the communication skills. Like someone else. It doesn't mean he's any less of an individual or his value in society is any less. Just again, like thinking it like your loved one who may have had a stroke or head trauma survivor or whatever may have happened to them, or maybe they were just never able to to verbally communicate with you. There are people out there who verbally cannot communicate and they use sign language. But think again, the rest of the world out there. How many people in society learn sign language or can actually communicate with somebody who is signing to them? My son can his sign language ability is far vastly different, and higher of amount of words that he can say, through sign language than he can, in verbal communication. But how many of his the school teachers or the administrators or other children in his, classroom understand sign language? You'd be surprised on how few it actually is. I mean, it's not required that the elementary school teacher knows sign language, or will put up with, if he's called upon for, to answer a question in class, that it has to be done on paper. That he will write it on a chalkboard or whiteboard or whatever in the classroom, and because he can't verbally communicate it, so they hold him back, or they put him in a special class because he's not able to verbally communicate. Is that fair to him? Would it be fair to your loved one if 10 years down the road after a stroke they still don't have that ability? Would it be fair to them to be held back? Or to be treated any differently than they've always been treated their entire life, with utmost respect and admiration? Would it be fair to them if they are unable to communicate the way that they used to? Think about that. Well, thank you for joining me today, here on the Taco Podcast. Crystal will be back next weekend, for the episode. Like I said, life just got in the way this week, and we're unable to do the episode that we originally had planned. I thank everyone again for being here, and you have a terrific week ahead.